Good morning, 8th standard. I welcome you all for this new session. Okay, what we are going to do today, any idea? Just we are going to continue that same. Okay, just few questions before getting into the lesson. What we saw in the last class. In the last class, what was the topic? The topic of the particular lesson, lesson 3. La journée de Madame Loving. Okay, as we started discussing on this topic, who is she? Is she a housewoman or is she a doctor or is she a mom? Any idea? Okay, there are three things. She is a housewoman, she is a doctor. She is not a housewoman. Her profession is medicine. Okay, so what is her profession? Medicine means doctor. Okay, and she takes care of her family also. So she is a mom and she is a doctor. So she doesn't stays at home. She also goes to work and she takes care of her family. So this is what we have been seeing. Okay, so this time what I am going to do is, last time I gave you explanation, right? So this class what I am going to do is I am going to give you translation. Okay, so on online test I will tell you in this training method what it will come. Okay, so last class you wrote choose true or false and question answers. So this class you will be dealing with translation. So let's continue. Okay, I'll read the passage once in French and then we'll go for the translation. La mère de Manuel, Madame Véronique Loving est médecin. Sa journée commence à 6 heures du matin. Elle se lave et elle s'habille. D'abord, elle prépare le petit déjeuner pour les enfants, tartines, confiture, jus de fruits, céréales, lait. Monsieur et Madame Loving prennent des tartines et du café. L'école des enfants est près de la maison. Ils vont en pide. L'hôpital de Madame Loving est assez loin. Elle prend sa voiture. À midi, les enfants déjeunent à la cantine de l'école. Ils rentrent à la maison avant Madame Loving. Ensuite, ils font leurs devoirs et ils jouent un peu. Monsieur et Madame Loving rentrent vers 19 heures. Monsieur Loving a beaucoup de travail. Elle prépare le dîner et fait le ménage. Son mari fait la vaisselle. Après le dîner, la famille regarde la télé. Elle se couche à 28 heures. Okay, now what I am going to do is I am going to give you the translation. So you can take down along with me. Okay. La mère de Manuel. The mother of Manuel. Or you can write Manuel's mother. Okay. The mother of Manuel. The mother of Manuel. Take a note. Pencil, pen, whatever. Rough note plus write in your rough note. And then you can take it out in your classwork. Mrs. Véronique Loving. Mrs. Véronique Loving est médecin. Mrs. Véronique Loving is doctor. Sa journée commence à 6 heures du matin. Her day starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. Her day starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. She gets up herself and she washes her face and she dresses up. Okay, so whatever the verbs we see is a reflexive verb. So we will not say I get up myself, I get up. That is what we will say in English. But in French, I get up myself, I wash my face myself and I dress up myself. This is what they will say. Okay, so as you can translate, you can write she gets up, she washes her face and she dresses up. There is nothing literally could be translated. It is a global meaning. In case if you have a guide, you can follow that, but sometimes the guide might go wrong. Okay, so in case if there is a construction of sentence is a problem, please go with what I say. Okay, so this is a global understanding. Okay, I'll go for the next line. At first, she prepares the breakfast for the children. At first, the first work she does in the morning, already I have explained, and then at first she prepares breakfast for her children. So first thing she does is she prepares the breakfast for the children. 13 is nothing but sandwich. Okay, confiture means jam. 13 confiture, jus de fruits, céréales, lait. So 13 sandwich, jam, fruit juice, cereals and milk. Okay, now full stop. Mr. and Madame Loving. Mr. and Madame Loving take sandwich and coffee. Take some sandwich and coffee. Mr. and Madame Loving take some sandwich and some coffee. Okay, so hope you have written. The school of the children is near to the house. The school of the children is near to the house. The school of the children is near to the house. They go by foot. They go by foot. They walk. They walk to the school. Okay, so I repeat. The school of the children are near to the home. This is point number 1. And they go by walk, or they walk by foot. The hospital of Mrs. Loving is very far. The hospital of Mrs. Loving is very far. I repeat, the hospital of Mrs. Loving is very far. So what she does is, she takes her car. She takes her car. So she is not going by walk, she takes her car. So I repeat, the hospital of Mrs. Loving is very far, so she takes her car. At noon, Amidi means at noon. At noon, the children eat their lunch at the school canteen. Okay? At noon, the children, you can say the children eat their lunch at school canteen or have their lunch at school canteen. Okay? At noon, the children have their lunch at school canteen. They come back to home. They come back to home before Madame Loving. That is, they come back. They return back to home before Mrs. Loving. They return back to home before Mrs. Loving. They return back to home before Mrs. Loving. Then, ensuite means then. Then, ils font leur devoir et ils jouent un peu. They do their homework and they play a bit. Okay? And then, they do their homework and they play a bit. Full stop. Mr. and Mrs. Loving. Mr. and Mrs. Loving return back home at 7 o'clock. in the evening. Okay, so that is 19 hours is explained as 19 minus 12, that is 7. Okay, so that is a railway timing. Okay, so Mr. and Mrs. Loving come back home or return back home, anything is correct. Return back home at 7 o'clock. Now Mrs. Loving has lot of work. Mrs. Loving has lot of work. So what are the works? She prepares the dinner. She prepares the dinner and do the household works. And fait le ménage means the household work. She prepares the dinner and does the household work. Okay. So Marie fait la vaisselle. Her husband washes the vessels. Her husband washes the vessels. After the dinner, après le dîner, after the dinner, the family watch TV. After the dinner, the family watches the TV. She goes back to sleep, or she goes back to bed at 9 o'clock. 21 hours means 9 o'clock in the evening. Okay, so she goes back to bed at 9 o'clock. Okay, so with this we are finishing the translation. So, and I will tell you what is the online test, the screening method. Okay, just this is the translation part which we have seen so far. I'll just repeat once in the whole passage. You just cross check with your written script. Okay. Manuel's mother, Mrs. Veronique, is a doctor. Her day starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. She gets up from bed, she washes and she dressed up. First, she prepares the breakfast for the children. Whatever she prepares, I am going to list out: sandwich, jam, fruit juice, cereals and milk. Mr. and Mrs. Loving takes sandwich and some coffee. Mr. and Mrs. Loving take some sandwich and some coffee. The school of the children are near to the home. The school of the children are near to the home. They go by foot. They go by foot. The l'hôpital de Madame Loving. The hospital of Mrs. Loving is very far. The hospital of Mrs. Loving is very far, so she takes her car. Okay, she takes her car. At noon, the children have their lunch in the school canteen. At noon, the children have their lunch at the school canteen. They come back to home before Mrs. Loving. The children come back to home before Mrs. Loving, or it could be written as the children return back to home before Mrs. Loving. Then they do their homework and they play. Then they do their homework and they play. Mr. and Mrs. Loving return back home at 7 o'clock. Mr. and Mrs. Loving return back home at 7 o'clock. Mrs. Loving has lot of works. Mrs. Loving has lot of works. She prepares dinner and she does the household work. She prepares dinner and she does the household works. Her husband washes the vessels. Her husband washes the vessels. After the dinner, the family watches the TV. After the dinner, the family watches the TV. She goes to bed at 9 o'clock. She goes to bed at 9 o'clock. So with this, we are completing the translation part of Lesson 3, La Journée de Madame Loving. So hope there is no doubt for you. So in case if you have missed somewhere, so rewind the video and you just play back and you slowly take down the notes. Okay, so with this I conclude today's session. The rest of the things I'll tell, if there is anything I'll tell you in this screening method. So today's online test I will always explain the screening method. So you can just watch the screening method carefully and prepare for the online test today. So hope you enjoyed today's session. So first session what we saw is lesson 3, passage, choose true or false and question answers, and this session we have seen translation. So far passage is over. So in the next class we will be seeing the clock. This we will see. Okay, so thank you, have a nice day, do well. Let's continue lesson 3, La journée de Madame Loving. La journée de Madame Loving. So I'll just repeat once again in case if whatever I have said in the board, if it's not clear, please kindly follow here. La mère de Manuel. La mère de Manuel, Madame Véronique Loving est médecin. Sa journée commence à 6 heures du matin. Elle se lève, elle se lave et elle s'habille. So I'll just translate this for you once again. The mother of Manuel, Mrs. Veronique Loving, is a doctor. Please check whatever you have written. In case if it is wrong, correct it. In case if it is right, just leave it as it is. Her day starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. She gets up, she washes her face and she get dressed up. D'abord, elle prépare le petit déjeuner pour les enfants. At first, she prepares the breakfast for the children. Tartine, confiture, jus de fruits, céréales, lait, sandwich, jam, fruit juice, cereals and milk. Monsieur et Madame Loving prennent des tartines et du café. Mr. and Mrs. Loving take some sandwich and some coffee. L'école des enfants est près de la maison. The school of the children are near from the home. Or you can write near to the home. Ils vont à pied. They go by walk or they go by foot. L'hôpital de Madame Loving est assez loin. L'hôpital de Madame Loving est assez loin. The hospital of Mrs. Loving is very far. Elle prend sa voiture. She takes her car. À midi, les enfants déjeunent à la cantine de l'école. At noon, the children have their lunch at school canteen. Il rentre à la maison avant Madame Loving. Here, il refers to the children. So, they come back from school before Mrs. Loving. Or you can also write they return from school before Mrs. Loving. Ensuite, ils font leurs devoirs et ils jouent un peu. Then, they do their homework and they play. And they play for some time, you can write. And they play for some time. Mr. and Mrs. Loving rentrent vers 19h. Mr. and Mrs. Loving return back at 7 o'clock. Or you can write they come back home at 7 o'clock. Mrs. Loving has a lot of works to do. Madame Loving a beaucoup de travail. That is, Mrs. Loving a beaucoup de travail could be translated as Mrs. Loving has a lot of works to do. Elle prépare le dîner et fait le ménage. She prepares the dinner and she does the housework. So Marie fait la vaisselle. So her husband does the vessels. That means the husband washes the vessels. After the dinner, après le dîner, la famille regarde la télé. The family watch the TV. Elle se couche à 28h. Here, la famille regarde la télé. Elle se couche. So, this elle refers to the family. So, elle se couche à 28h. So, the family goes to bed at 9 o'clock. So, there is a small correction in true or false. Please change this here. La famille se couche à 9h du soir. So 9h, that is 9 plus 12 is 21. So this one is true. So last class we wrote false, right? So please correct it. So first one and third one is 4. First one and third one is vrai. And second and fourth one is 4. So kindly change that. These things we saw in the last class. So la famille se couche à 9h du soir. So this we saw, and we were searching for the justification. Here we saw. So last class we thought it was Madame Loving. Here this elle refers to la famille. So there is a rule in French that the noun could be replaced by personal pronoun. So that is why this change. So kindly change it. So hope you took the translation. So I'll just read it once in English. Only in English. Please check. Manuel's mother, Mrs. Loving, is a doctor. Her day starts at 6 o'clock in the morning. She wakes up, she washes her face, and she gets dressed up. And at first she prepares the breakfast for the children: sandwich, jam, fruit juice, cereals, and milk. And then Mr. and Mrs. Loving take some sandwich and some coffee. The school of the children are near to the home. They go by foot. The hospital of Mrs. Loving is very far, so she takes a car. At noon, the children have the lunch at school canteen, and they come back home before Mrs. Loving. Then they do their homework and they play for some time. Mr. and Mrs. Loving come back at 7 o'clock in the evening. Mrs. Loving has a lot of works to do. She prepares the dinner and she does the household work. Her husband her husband washes the vessels. After the dinner, the family watch TV and the family goes to bed at 9 o'clock in the evening. Thank you. So this is the translation for lesson 3. So upcoming class we will be seeing some other new topic. Either we will see this Keller ethyl, or we can also see the reflexive verbs. So you can start writing the classwork. Whenever you are free, you start writing the translation and then the answers which I gave you. So you can write this also in your classwork. Keller ethyl. The timings are here. This one you might have a question either to write this in the lesson part or in the grammar part. I think you can take this in the grammar part. So all these pages you can take in grammar part till this commonly used pronominal verbs you can take in the grammar part. So this is the time based exercise and this is verb pronoun. These things we will see in the upcoming class. Okay, so for today's test I will ask from the passage itself. Okay, from this passage I will ask, you just answer it. Okay, so that's it for today. So today we saw the translation of lesson 3. So hope you all wrote it. So since I said twice, so it would be easy for you. I think you would have written it in a better way. So once you have corrected all the mistakes, you can take it in classwork. Okay, so thank you. Have a nice day.